My name is Anastasia Scott, and the specific purpose of my speech is to persuade my audience to understand that Disney remakes are not necessary. Lion King, Aladdin, and Sleeping Beauty. These are all household movies. Most, if not all, you have seen or heard of these films. But within more recent years, each of these titles have gone through a live-action facelift. Disney's decision to remake classic cartoons is unnecessary and just meaningless cash grabs by Disney that shouldn't even be considered. In the future, I want to work in the movie industry and have done extensive research on this topic to further educate myself on Hollywood. Within the last 10 years, there have been a total of 12 live-action remakes by Disney. With 16 more remakes and only 4 original animated films scheduled in the future, it becomes more and more obvious that a corporation like Disney prioritizes money over the originality that built it. Specifically, I will talk about the reasons why Disney keeps remaking films, why remakes are unnecessary, and why animation is just as good as live action. To start off, remakes aren't new, nor are they simply going to disappear. In fact, there are as many as 100 remakes scheduled, from Big Trouble in Little China to Home Alone to even another remake of The Planet of the Apes. Disney has been making remakes of their animated property since the 90s, with films like The Jungle Book in 1994 and 101 Dalmatians in 1996, with mixed successes. But there's been a recent resurgence. And while I would love to say there's one ultimate reason as to why Disney keeps telling the same stories over and over again, the truth is pretty much just money. Money is really the root of everything, and if there is an assurance of making money, then corporations are going to jump on it, even big corporations like Disney. Hannah J. Masselme of Harvard Crimson explains it this way: a film has essentially a single shot at success, one that can either end spectacularly or disastrously. Essentially, movies are what they are. With media like television shows where they release content weekly, they can stay on trend. They can make commentary on the world as it's happening, unlike a movie which is made months, sometimes even longer, ahead of the release dates. But Disney knows that nostalgia is a powerful influence. The corporation knows that people who grew up on these stories will watch their remakes, and they also know that people will bring their children, which starts a cycle of nostalgia all over again. While these movies might bring back memories from when you were a child, they weren't made for anything more than lining the pockets of Mickey Mouse. Next, if you've seen any of the Disney remakes, you'll know it's really a swing and a miss on how good it'll be. There are 2 different kinds of remakes that Disney makes. The first being like Beauty and the Beast from 2017 or The Lion King from 2019, which are almost exact replicas of the originals. I argue that's just wasting money. For example, the original Lion King from 1994 cost $45 million to make compared to the remake that was a whopping $260 million. Instead of remaking something that cost 5 times more to make, Disney could put their money into the original content that popularized them in the first place. The second type of remake is just Disney slapping a familiar name to something and telling a totally different story, like in the case of Maleficent from 2014 or Dumbo from 2019. These stories are more original, but are pulled down by their connection to the old cartoons. In either case, just remaking a cartoon into a live action just because we can is unnecessary and silly, especially with how big Disney is and with all of their resources and creators. Finally, animation is often looked down upon as a lesser or childish, especially within the film industry. A blatant example is in the case of the Oscars last year, when multiple judges admitted to not having watched the majority of the films in the animated category. One judge even admitted to having watched only 2 of the 6 nominees. This isn't anything new, but it is surprising that a company like Disney, which is built upon animated movies, would favor live-action films to animated films. However, animation can be just as deep and thought-provoking as any other drama or comedy, and it even can be better. Animation has several advantages to live action films, such as making the impossible possible. If you can think of something, it can be made, as opposed to live action that is limited to the world we live in. But in animation, the world is whatever is needed or desired. Animation can also show complex and abstract concepts that could otherwise be hard to explain and make them easier to understand and connect with. And lastly, animation generally costs less. There's no need to have voice actors in the same place at the same time, no traveling, or build costs for sets, and it's much easier to add or remove scenes. In conclusion, Disney remakes are not only a waste of the company's time, but ours as well. Animation is just as good as live action, and the remakes aren't necessary at all, despite Disney's insistence to make them. If we want to see the change in the content we consume, it's important to be critical and to not continually give Disney money. Thank you.